You need to understand that attraction is not a race against time. It is not a competition with younger men, and it is not a desperate attempt to look like you did 10 years ago. The mistake so many men make is believing that women fall for youth first and everything else second. But what most women are responding to, even when they don't have the words for it, is not your age. It's your energy. It's what it feels like to stand near you. It's what it feels like to be heard by you. It's what it feels like to be safe with you. Not safe in a boring way, but safe in a way that lets her nervous system finally relax. I've watched men walk into a room with perfect hair, perfect clothes, perfect lines, and still feel invisible because their presence is anxious. They're scanning for approval. They're trying to impress. They're forcing a performance, and women feel that pressure, even if you never say a single needy word. Then I've watched another man, not louder, not flashier, not trying so hard, simply arrive with calm in his chest, and everything shifts. People lean in, conversations slow down, there's warmth, there's gravity, and you need to understand that kind of calm is rare, and rarity is magnetic. Because the truth is, a woman doesn't just choose a man with her eyes. She chooses with her body, with her intuition, with that quiet part of her that asks one question before all the others. Do I feel safe here? Not safe from danger, safe from emotional chaos, safe from being judged, safe from being pushed, safe from being rushed into something she isn't ready for. When a man has lived long enough to learn self-control, and he brings that control into the way he speaks, the way he listens, the way he responds, it feels like relief. It feels like someone finally put down the emotional noise. Think about the last time you felt truly comfortable around someone. You weren't trying to be perfect. You weren't rehearsing what to say. You weren't bracing for a reaction. You could just be yourself. That comfort is not small. That comfort is a doorway. And you need to understand, many women spend their lives carrying tension in relationships. Tension from being misunderstood. Tension from men who turn everything into an argument. Tension from men who take everything personally. So when she meets a man whose presence feels steady, she doesn't just notice it, she responds to it. This is why the older man advantage is not about money or status, even though those things can attract attention. It's about emotional certainty. It's about the way you don't panic. It's about the way you don't chase. It's about the way you don't punish her for being human. A younger man can have this too, but older men who have done their inner work often carry it naturally because life has already humbled them. They've lost something. They've learned something. They've been disappointed and didn't collapse. They've been rejected and didn't become bitter. They've learned that real strength doesn't shout, it holds. Let me make this personal for you. If you're an older man who's ever thought, she's out of my league, or she probably wants someone younger, I want you to hear this clearly. You need to understand that the thing she is often starving for is not younger energy. It's calmer energy. It's a man who can handle her emotions without trying to fix her like she's broken. It's a man who can hear her frustration without becoming defensive. It's a man who can disagree without turning it into a war. That kind of maturity makes a woman feel like she can breathe. And when she can breathe, she can feel desire without fear. And here's the part that's uncomfortable, but true. If you're trying to attract her by pretending you're younger, you're already losing the power you actually have. Because pretending creates tension. Pretending makes you chase. Pretending makes you perform. And she will feel it. But if you embrace the thing you've earned, your steadiness, your patience, your ability to be present, then you stop competing and you start leading. You need to understand, women don't fall in love with a man who begs to be chosen. They soften toward a man who knows who he is. In real life, this shows up in the smallest moments. When she's telling you about something stressful and you don't hijack the conversation with your own problems. When she's quiet and you don't interrogate her like she owes you an explanation. When plans change and you don't throw a tantrum. When she's unsure and you don't pressure her. When she says no and you don't punish her with coldness. These moments are where attraction is built, not in the highlight reel, but in the everyday emotional weather you create around her. So if you want to become more attractive, don't obsess over looking younger. Build the kind of presence that makes her feel safer, calmer, and more certain. Speak slower. Listen deeper. Show her that you are not a man who needs to win. You are a man who can hold. Hold your emotions. Hold your standards. Hold the space between you without rushing to fill it with noise. because you need to understand when a woman feels emotionally safe with you, she doesn't just like you. She starts imagining you as a place she can rest. And that imagination has a power that no youthful flex, no clever line, no forced confidence can replace. You need to understand that the real advantage an older man has is not money, not status, not a sharp suit, and not even experience in the way most people think. The true advantage is emotional control, the kind that doesn't come from pretending to be confident, but from surviving enough life to stop panicking. It's the kind of calm that doesn't need to prove itself. It's the kind of steadiness that doesn't collapse when a woman is unsure, or when the moment isn't perfect, or when the conversation gets real. And in a world full of men who react, that kind of man becomes rare. Rare becomes valuable. Valuable becomes attractive. Let me tell you a story that might feel familiar. A woman is sitting across from a man, and he's trying so hard to impress her that you can feel the tension in his shoulders. He's talking fast. He's filling every silence. He's making jokes that don't land. He's asking questions, but he isn't listening to the answers because he's planning the next thing to say. He keeps checking her face like it's a scoreboard, looking for confirmation that he's winning. She smiles politely, but inside she's tired because she can feel that he needs something from her. Approval, validation, reassurance, a yes, anything. And you need to understand, when a woman feels like she is being used as a source of emotional oxygen, her attraction doesn't grow, it tightens. Now picture a different man. He walks in, not rushing, not loud, not desperate. His tone is calm, his eyes are present. He doesn't treat the conversation like a performance, he treats it like a moment. He asks a question, and then he actually listens. He lets her finish. He doesn't interrupt to prove he's smart. He doesn't rush to fix her emotions. He respects them. When she pauses, he doesn't panic and fill the silence. He lets the silence breathe. And something happens in her body. Her shoulders drop. Her breath slows. She feels safe. She feels like she can be herself without being judged or pressured. You need to understand that is what emotional control gives a woman. It gives her nervous system permission to relax. Because many women, even the strongest ones, have been with men who make them feel like they have to manage the man's emotions. They've dated men who explode when they feel insecure, men who become cold when they don't get what they want, men who turn small misunderstandings into big fights, men who punish with silence, jealousy, or guilt. And after enough of that, a woman learns to stay guarded. She learns to keep her feelings inside. She learns to protect her peace. So when she meets a man who has control, real control, not controlling her, controlling himself, it feels different. It feels like a break from chaos. It feels like stepping out of a storm and into a warm room. And you need to understand, relief can be deeply attractive. Emotional control also shows up in how you handle her boundaries. A woman says no, not to hurt you, but because she has limits, she has needs, she has timing. A reactive man takes it personally. He argues, he complains, he withdraws, he tries to punish her for not giving him what he wanted. But a man with emotional control doesn't crumble. He stays warm, he stays respectful, he doesn't beg, he doesn't threaten. He simply adjusts and continues to lead with calm strength. And that calm response tells her something powerful. This man is safe. This man is steady. This man doesn't need to control me to feel like a man. You need to understand that is a rare kind of masculinity, and women feel it. It also shows up when life gets messy, when plans change, when stress hits, when misunderstandings happen, when she's emotional or tired. A man without control makes those moments worse. He adds fire to fire. He takes everything as an attack. He makes her emotions about him, but a man with control becomes the anchor. He doesn't deny her feelings. He doesn't fight her feelings. He stays grounded while she's human. He can say, I hear you, without becoming weak. And he can say, I don't accept disrespect, without becoming cruel. That balances everything. And you need to understand, women don't just fall for words, they fall for emotional weather. They fall for how it feels to be near you when things aren't perfect. Now, I want to make this heart-touching because it matters. Some of you listening are older men who have been through rejection, through divorce, through loss, through moments where you doubted your worth. And you might think those experiences made you less attractive. But you need to understand Those experiences can make you more attractive if you learned from them. If they made you softer without making you weak, stronger without making you hard, wiser without making you bitter. A woman can feel the difference between an older man who is wounded and an older man who is healed. One carries anger, the other carries peace. One carries control as a weapon, the other carries control as a gift. So if you want to attract her, don't try to act younger. Don't try to outflex younger men. Let your calm speak. Let your steadiness lead. Be the man who doesn't chase approval, but offers presence. Be the man who doesn't demand attention, but creates safety. Be the man who can feel deeply without falling apart. Because you need to understand, emotional control is not about being cold. It's about being strong enough to stay warm. And when a woman meets a man who can stay warm, even when life is complicated, her guard starts to soften, her heart starts to open, and attraction stops feeling like a risk and starts feeling like a home. You need to understand that women don't fall for pressure. They don't soften when they feel chased like a target. They don't open up when they feel like your happiness depends on their answer. A woman may enjoy attention for a moment, but deep attraction, the kind that turns into respect and real connection, grows in a completely different soil. It grows in presence. It grows in patience. It grows in a man who is not trying to take, but is calmly offering. And that is why older men who truly attract women are not the ones who are loud or desperate. They are the ones who make women feel safe enough to be feminine, safe enough to relax, safe enough to feel. Let me tell you what pressure looks like, even when a man thinks he's being romantic. Pressure is constant texting and checking, where are you? Why didn't you reply? Are you mad? Do you like me? I miss you. Say it back. Pressure is pushing for fast commitment, fast intimacy, fast certainty. Pressure is turning her hesitation into a personal insult. Pressure is acting sweet on the surface, but carrying a hidden demand underneath. Give me what I want, or I will withdraw, get cold, or get angry. And you need to understand, women can feel that hidden demand. They might not always call it out, but their body feels it. And when her body feels pressure, her heart closes. Now, patience is different. Patience is strength with a soft face. Patience is the ability to want something and still not force it. Patience is not being passive. It's being steady. It's the man who can say, I'm interested in you, and still keep his dignity if she needs time. It's the man who can invite without chasing, who can lead without pushing, who can desire without begging. And you need to understand, when a woman feels patience, she doesn't feel trapped. She feels safe. She feels respected. She feels like she can choose you freely. And freedom is the most romantic feeling in the world. Presence is what makes patience powerful. Presence is when you are with her fully, not half listening while thinking about your next line, not trying to impress, not scanning her face for approval. Presence is when you look at her like you actually see her. You listen to her words, but you also listen to her tone, her pauses, her emotions. You don't rush past her feelings. You don't try to fix everything. Sometimes you simply hold the moment. And you need to understand, a woman who has lived through chaos will recognize that as rare. She will feel it like a warm hand on her back, steady, respectful, not grabbing, not demanding, just there. This is why older men who attract women have a certain rhythm. They don't rush, they don't pressure, they don't play childish games. They are direct, but calm. They are interested, but not needy. They are affectionate, but not clingy. They make plans, and they follow through. They don't talk about everything they will do, they do it. And in a world where many women have been disappointed by empty words, follow through feels like romance. You need to understand, consistency is seduction to a woman who's tired of uncertainty. I want you to imagine a woman who has been carrying stress for months, maybe years. She's been strong for everyone. She's handled responsibilities. She's been let down. She's been misunderstood. She's been with men who either ignored her emotions or made her emotions their problem. Then she meets a man who doesn't rush her, who doesn't demand her softness, who creates a space where softness is safe. He speaks slower. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't judge her for her past. He doesn't pressure her to trust him quickly. He simply shows up again and again as himself. And slowly, her guard drops, not because she was convinced, but because she felt safe. And here is the emotional truth that matters. When a woman softens into you, she's not just responding to your words. She's responding to what your presence promises. She's responding to the kind of man you are when things don't go your way. She's responding to how you handle disappointment. She's responding to whether you punish or you understand. And you need to understand a woman is always watching how safe you are, not only when she is happy, but when she is honest. So what do? You stop trying to win her with pressure and you start inviting her with presence. You make a plan that's clear and respectful. I'd like to take you out this week. Are you free Thursday or Friday? You don't send 10 messages if she takes time. You don't punish her with silence. You give her space without disappearing. You keep your life moving. You stay warm. You stay steady. And if she says no, you don't collapse. You don't beg. You don't argue. You keep your dignity. Because you need to understand, the kind of man who attracts women is not the man who needs her to choose him to feel valuable. He is valuable, and his calm proves it. And when you live like that, something beautiful happens. You become the kind of man a woman wants to choose, not because she was pushed, not because she was trapped, but because she feels free to come closer, free to relax, free to trust, free to feel, and that is the strongest form of attraction there is. You need to understand that two simple words, when they are real, can create a kind of connection that most men spend years chasing with the wrong tools. The truth is, older men don't become attractive because they learn more lines. They become attractive because they learn how to make a woman feel seen without making her feel trapped. And the two words that do that, the two words that open a woman's heart without pressure, are not flashy. They are not romantic poetry. They are simply, I understand. But listen carefully, because I understand is not just something you say, it is something you are. It is a posture. It is a kind of emotional strength that tells a woman, you don't have to defend your feelings with me. Most women have spent their lives being talked over, misunderstood, judged, corrected, or treated like their emotions are an inconvenience. They've been with men who respond to feelings with solutions, or arguments, or jokes that dismiss the pain. They've been with men who hear a complaint and immediately turn it into a fight. And after enough of that, a woman learns to keep her feelings inside, because opening up becomes risky. So when you look at her in a real moment, not a flirty moment, but a real moment, and you say, I understand, what she hears is, you can breathe. I've seen it happen in ordinary situations. A woman is exhausted, not the cute kind of tired, the real kind, where life has been heavy. She says, I'm overwhelmed. A younger, anxious man hears that and panics. He takes it personally. He says, so you don't have time for me? Or he floods her with advice, or he demands reassurance, and suddenly she has to manage his emotions on top of her own. But an emotionally mature man does something different. He doesn't make it about himself. He doesn't try to fix her like she's broken. He simply slows down, looks at her, and says, I understand. And he means, I'm not here to add weight to your shoulders. You need to understand, for a woman, that is not small, that is rare, and rarity creates desire. Now, some men hear this and think it means agreeing with everything, or becoming soft in a way that loses respect. But you need to understand. Understanding is not weakness. Understanding is control. It's the ability to validate a feeling without surrendering your backbone. It's saying, I can see why that hurt you, while still holding your standards. It's saying, I hear you, without turning it into a courtroom where someone must win. Because intimacy dies in courtrooms. Intimacy grows where there is safety. And that safety doesn't come from perfect words. It comes from the kind of man you are when the moment gets uncomfortable. If she expresses frustration, do you become defensive or do you stay calm? If she needs space, do you punish her or do you respect her? If she sets a boundary, do you argue or do you accept it with dignity? If she is emotional, do you mock or do you hold? These are the moments where your character speaks louder than your compliments. And you need to understand, a woman's heart is not only listening to what you say, it is watching how you behave when you don't get your way. This is why I understand can be so magnetic when it is real, because most men are trying to be impressive, but very few men are trying to be safe. Most men want to look powerful, but the highest form of power is emotional steadiness. When you say, I understand, and you truly listen, you are not begging, you are not chasing, you are not performing, you are leading, you are saying, I can handle this moment. And that creates a deep relaxation in a woman because it tells her she doesn't have to fight for space with you. But here's the painful truth, and I'm saying this to protect you. These two words mean nothing if your actions don't match. If you say, I understand, and then repeat the same behavior that hurts her, she will feel betrayed. If you say, I understand, and then use it to get closeness fast, she will feel manipulated. If you say, I understand, but you never actually listen, you will make her feel even more alone than silence ever could. You need to understand. Sincerity is not optional. It is the entire foundation. Without sincerity, those words become a costume, and women can feel a costume. So what does it look like when an older man uses these words in the right way? He listens fully. He reflects back what he heard. He says, I understand. And then he asks a gentle question, tell me more. Or, what do you need right now? He doesn't rush her to be okay. He doesn't demand her softness. He creates room for her to be human. And then he leads with calm clarity. He still makes plans. He still shows desire. He still has standards, but he doesn't create pressure. He doesn't turn her emotions into a problem to solve quickly. He becomes the steady presence that makes her feel safe to come closer. And here is the heart-touching part. Many men think attraction is about being chosen, but the most attractive men live like they are already whole. They don't need a woman to complete them. They want a woman, they choose a woman, but they don't cling to a woman. That's why their empathy feels strong, not needy. That's why their understanding feels comforting, not suffocating. You need to understand. The man who can say, I understand, without losing himself is the man a woman can trust because he's not trying to take from her. He's offering something she rarely finds, peace. So if you want those two words to truly attract, don't just say them. Become them. Become the kind of man whose presence lowers stress, not raises it. Become the kind of man who listens without judgment, who leads without pressure, who holds standards without cruelty. Because when a woman meets a man like that, she doesn't just feel attraction, she feels relief. And relief is one of the most beautiful beginnings of love.